In the annals of history, few stories capture the imagination and evoke the poignancy of the Romanovs, Russia's last imperial family. Their tale is one of power, revolution, and a tragic end that would forever change the course of Russian history. In the waning years of the 19th century, Nicholas II ascended to the Russian throne, succeeding his father, Alexander III. The transition of power was not just a change in rulers, but the continuation of a dynasty that had ruled Russia for centuries. Nicholas, however, was a man unprepared for the colossal responsibilities that came with the crown. Nicholas's upbringing in the opulent and isolated world of the Russian court did little to prepare him for the complexities of ruling an empire. Educated by private tutors, his studies focused more on the history and arts and less on governance and statecraft. Nicholas, unlike his father, was of a gentle and introspective nature, qualities not often associated with the autocratic rulers of Russia. His coronation in 1894 was a grand affair, a spectacle of imperial power, but it was soon marred by the Kodinka tragedy, where thousands were killed and injured during a celebratory event in Moscow. It cast a shadow over the beginning of Nicholas's reign. It was an ill omen that would come to symbolize the disconnect between the Czar and his people. Nicholas's early years as Czar were marked by a mixture of traditionalism and tentative modernization. He believed firmly in the divine right of kings and was resistant to political reforms that would diminish his absolute power. Yet, under his rule, Russia experienced industrial growth and began to play a more significant role on the world stage. But the seeds of discontent were already being sown. The Russo-Japanese War in 1904, which ended in a humiliating defeat for Russia, severely undermined Nicholas's authority and prestige. The war's aftermath, coupled with growing political and social unrest, set the stage for the revolutionary upheavals that would eventually engulf his reign and the entire Romanov dynasty. Within the walls of the Winter Palace, the Romanovs lived a life of imperial splendor. Yet beneath the gilded surface, they were a family much like any other, with their joys, fears, and private struggles. Nicholas II, often perceived as aloof in public, was a different man in the company of his beloved wife, Alexandra, and their children, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, Anastasia, and the young Alexei. The Czar, a man of deep familial affection, cherished the moments spent playing with his children, escaping the heavy mantle of rulership, if only for a brief while. Empress Alexandra, though reserved and often misunderstood by the Russian people, was a pillar of strength within her family. She managed the household with a meticulous eye and was fiercely protective of her children, especially the frail Alexei. The heir to the throne suffered from hemophilia, a condition that cast a long shadow over the family's happiness. The constant fear for his health drew Alexandra towards the controversial figure, Grigory Rasputin, whose influence on the family would become a source of public scandal and discontent. The Romanov daughters, each with their unique personality, were the jewels of the empire. Olga, the eldest, was thoughtful and introspective, bearing the weight of future responsibilities. Tatiana, graceful and poised, often took a nurturing role within the family. Maria, gentle and affectionate, was the peacemaker, while Anastasia, the youngest daughter, was lively and mischievous, bringing laughter to the palace's corridor. Their lives, a blend of royal duties and private moments, were filled with tutors, balls, and ceremonial events, but also with simple pleasures like family picnics, sled rides in the snow, and evenings of music and storytelling. The duality of grandeur and normalcy defined their existence within the palace walls. Yet outside these walls, the world was changing. The strains of war and revolution were creeping closer, and the Romanovs, ensconced in their imperial bubble, were increasingly out of touch with the growing unrest among their people. The family's idyllic life was about to be swept away by the tides of history, leading them down a path of uncertainty and tragedy. As World War I engulfed Europe, Russia was drawn into the chaos. The war's strain on Russian society deepened the cracks within the empire. Dissatisfaction turned to revolution, and in 1917, Nicholas II was forced to abdicate. The abdication of Nicholas II marked a seismic shift in the lives of the Romanovs. Stripped of their imperial status, the family found themselves plunged into a stark new reality. Initially confined to the Alexander Palace at Skarsko Selo, they were cut off from the outside world, living under constant surveillance. Life in captivity was a far cry from their former existence. The opulence of the palace was replaced by modest rooms, the luxury of royal life by the simplicity and austerity of imprisonment. Guards patrolled the grounds, and the once grand halls echoed with a haunting emptiness. In August 1917, the family was moved to Tobolsk in Siberia for their safety. The harsh Siberian winter added to their woes. The Romanovs, especially the children, tried to maintain normalcy, studying, reading, and attending religious services. Nicholas and Alexandra spent hours in prayer and reflection, clinging to their faith amidst the uncertainty. The family's final move in April 1918 to the Epitaph House in Ekaterinburg marked a further decline in their fortunes. The House of Special Purpose, as it was ominously named, became their final prison. The windows were painted over, further isolating them from the world. Their days were spent in a monotonous routine, with only brief moments in the small garden, under watchful eyes of the guards. Despite the grim circumstances, the Romanovs showed remarkable resilience. Nicholas, once the autocratic ruler, adapted to his reduced circumstance with a quiet dignity, chopping wood and helping with household chores. Alexandra, increasingly frail and ill, remained a source of strength for her children, who displayed a courageous front despite the growing sense of doom. As the Bolsheviks tightened their grip on power, the fate of the Romanovs became a subject of great speculation and concern, both in Russia and abroad. Unbeknownst to the family, their time was running out, and the world they knew had vanished, and with it, any hope of return to the life of splendor and power that they once knew. The Romanov family's fall from grace was stark. Confined to house arrest, their royal lives were reduced to mere shadows in the Epitaph House. Cut off from the world, they lived in a suspended reality, unaware of their impending fate. On the night of July 16, 1918, the Romanovs' fate was sealed. In a dimly lit basement room, the family, along with their loyal servants, were executed by the Bolshevik soldiers. This brutal act extinguished the Romanov lineage and marked a somber end to an era. The echoes of the Romanovs' fall resonate through history, a reminder of the transient nature of power and the human cost of revolution. Their story, etched into the fabric of the past, serves as a testament to the vanished world and the end of Imperial Russia.